Good morning. Thank you for having me here. I'm delighted to be here and talk to you about how Intuit is helping fuel innovation and accelerating growth in the cloud. But before I do that, let me talk to you about who Intuit is for those that you may not know. If I can. Intuit was started and founded by a person by the name of Scott Cook, who wanted to solve a pain point that his wife had about managing her checkbook. And he had a mission 28 years ago, which was put simply, how do I change the lives of people who had financial challenges so profoundly that they can't imagine going back to the old way? And we had a product called Quicken, which kind of was a check register. And we served the consumers, and we've grown to serve the consumers and the small businesses and all those that serve them, whether it's the accountants, the financial institutions, and healthcare, which is a new industry for us to serve. And our main mission is to deliver better business outcomes and money outcomes. How do we help the customers that we serve make and save money? You know us for Quicken. And we've now, over 28 years, have become a global company with all these brand names of Mint, TurboTax, QuickBooks Online, and so forth. And we've been able to, in that 28 years, be woven into the fabric of the economy where we touch the lives of over 50 million people. In the last 18 months alone, we've touched an additional 10 million people in the economy, in all the things that we do to help them. We've made a big transition. Our big heritage was about desktop applications, software applications that you use on your desktop. And over the last several years, we've made a huge transition in the cloud. And our numbers speak for themselves. We have well over 30 online software as a service applications in the cloud, like QuickBooks Online, TurboTax Online, and Mint. We have well over 15 mobile devices, reaching millions and hundreds and thousands of customers. You can take a product like what we just launched this year for TurboTax called SnapTax. You can take a product, and in 10 minutes or less, you can file a 1040EZ form with just your iPhone. That's innovation. That's what we do, trying to get to different kinds of platforms in the industry. And altogether, we're a little over a $4 billion company. We have 2 billion in connected services, which represents about 60% of our total revenue. And by 2015, we hope to increase that to well over 75%. So cloud is a mainstream of who we are at the company called Intuit. So let's talk about how IT, a critical part of the foundation house of Intuit, fuels innovation and growth in the cloud. I want to talk about 3 things. It starts with mindset. It talks about the role that you play for the company in delivering innovation. And it talks about how Intuit and IT is using strategic assets that we have called data to fuel that growth for the company. Let's start with mindset. We have a concept in the company called True North. And that is, in essence, solving for 3 key stakeholders: employees, customer, and shareholder, both short and long. Fundamental concept, but very, very hard to do. And so when I talk about mindset and the journey that Intuit has gone from a desktop software to now trying to be and is a premier innovative growth company in connected services, there was a bunch of huge mindset shifts that had to change. No differently than for the IT organization also. The IT organization had historically focused on 2 and only 2 of those stakeholders, employee and shareholder. Our job at the time was to build and develop employee productivity tools and to be very cost efficient. And so as we were making this transition at the company level, I too had to make the transition at the CIO level as well. We started out being a service provider, and that's great, but it's not sufficient. And I had to turn the IT organization into something else. and solving for that third key stakeholder called customer. And anytime you do a key change, transformational change, whether it's going to the cloud, figuring out how to get to the mobile apps and so forth, the role at Intuit, and the IT role in particular, we played a pretty big critical part in being that change agent. So it's not just providing services, but how do you become that change agent? And it starts with knowing where you want to be, having a vision, having a strategy, knowing that view outside, being grounded on where you are in reality, and figuring out the steps necessary to get from point A to point B, and leading that change beyond just the technical bits and bytes. Another key area is not solely being driven by cost and efficiency. And I had to change the mindsets of the people inside IT to ensure that they know their mission was to enable growth and a great customer experience. The way that we've defined IT at Intuit is we don't develop the products to the customers necessarily, but we do all the hosting of them. So the number one customer experience in a SaaS offering is that they want these things to be always on. You can have a limited set of features always on, and that's much, much more preferable in a SaaS model than having a whole bunch of features that's hardly ever on. And making that always on, highly available, secure, and scalable are the things that I had to transform that IT organization to do. And that's how we affected the customer experience. And it wasn't just about focusing on the IT plumbing. Again, although sufficient, not enough. We had to become an end-to-end systems thinker. And what do I mean by that? It's about knowing your role in the larger pie. It's about understanding the company strategy, the business unit strategy, and what your role is to enable that. And if you only know your piece, you're not an end-to-end systems thinker. And I had to transform that part of the IT organization as well to deliver for the business, who ultimately delivers for the customers that ends up using and buying all our products and services. So how did we do that? I started as a CIO in 2008, and 95% of the organization was focused on what I called the fundamentals. Basic block and tackling, things that were table stakes. How to improve the employee productivity, how to keep the internal servers on. Again, great, but not nearly sufficient for where we wanted to go. We had to go up what I call the Maslows Hierarchy of needs from the customer's point of view, and what did they want from us? They wanted us to deliver value. They wanted us to help them succeed and help them transform by delivering robust processes, technology solutions, and data, using data to transform to help accelerate growth. And over the last 3 years, I'm proud to say we've made a fundamental shift in not only the focus, but the resource allocation as we went up this pyramid. It was no longer enough to just do the table stakes. And that took a lot of hard work and a lot of focus. And it starts with, first, understanding the business. Know who your customers are, know the strategy that they're trying to solve, knowing how and the key levers by which they need to drive revenue. And then in turn, the IT organization then had to figure out what their part is to enable all that. So it's thinking business first, technology second, was a key mindset shift also that we had to put our organization through. So when we talk about customers in IT, we have four. Understanding exactly who they are and their unique needs and the value that we provide them was critical. Sounds pretty basic, but it's hard to do. And for us, we had obviously the Intuit employees to be productive, to help them be productive, the business units and the functional groups to enable growth. We had a customer me, what we call who are our me's, a customer me called product development. And the number one then thing that they wanted out of IT was, how do you help me be more innovative? How do you help me, IT organization, so that I can in turn build great products and services to the end customer? And then, as I said briefly, we also have another customer called the external one, where if on April 15th, the servers aren't up and running and you're trying to file your taxes on April 15th and you can't, that's another customer that I in IT serve. So understanding each of those segments, what is the value add that they want out of you, having them define that value was a big shift for us as well. So it always starts with the customer. We are a very customer-centric organization at Intuit, and it's no different in a technology function as well. Most IT organizations typically think what I call inside out. How do I get this thing to scale? How do I make it reliable? How do I make sure it's secure? Again, fundamental, table stakes, not nearly sufficient if you want to help enable growth. We had to, in turn, not think inside out, but what I call outside in. Again, from the customer's point of view. So defining who those customers are in their lens is critical to being a successful IT organization. And it also is important when I talked about being an end-to-end systems thinker. It talks about the role that you play in the entire system. I'm a big football fan. Don't know how many of you guys are out there in the audience, but you have a system of football. You have 3 units, the offensive unit, the defensive unit, the special teams. This is no different. The business units, the product development teams, the IT team, all have to be in partnership to deliver for that end customer, and we all have a different role to play. But we have the master role of making sure we solve unique customer problems in a way so profoundly that they never want to go back. And so it started with being explicit about those roles. This is the one technical slide that I'll have in this presentation. It's not all that technical, but when you think about the layers of that stack of what you have to deliver, the offerings that the customers see and touch and use, a set of product infrastructure that you want to make sure can be reusable across our products so that we have interoperability across the offerings. You have a set of business infrastructure by which you want to transact into its business on. And then finally, the data center, all the things that you need to host. We have this clarity of making sure everyone is accountable where ultimately we're a very BU-centric driven culture, and the BU ultimately owns that customer experience from top to bottom. They are then highly dependent on functional excellence from our CTO organization that figures out what are those shared product components to make these offerings very interoperable. And in turn, relying on the functional excellence of the IT organization to deliver great IT services, core business services, and a data center operations so that our SaaS offerings can be always on. And with that clarity, you know the role that you play in that football game. And that is also critical for delivering for the customer.
Customers demand connected services that can be accessed from anywhere. Let me pause for a second, I'm sorry. Be it a desktop.
Let me just close this section about the customer and tell you about the critical importance of also being a change agent around communications. It's not enough to just know and be in the understanding of the customer in the language that they speak. It's not just enough to know the roles that you play and the game that you're playing together with your partners. IT can be a black box to many people, and it is very easy to always talk in tech speak. But when you want to be an effective change agent, being a leader to do that transformational change, you have to speak in the language that the end person can understand. And we're all trying to get to the cloud, and that's a huge transformation. And for us, especially so. We were, in our heritage, a desktop software company, and all that meant was taking some bits and bytes, putting it on a disk, and shipping it. The role of IT wasn't so pronounced. Going to the cloud and delivering on that #1 customer feature called high availability and being always on for them was critical. And so what did I need to do as a change agent? I needed to communicate what I needed out of every single role to deliver that for the customer. And I had to put it in a language that the customers can understand. So whether you're making a transformation to the cloud, or in this case, making a transformation of putting in a brand new business infrastructure layer so that the Intuit can transact its business on, not just for desktop software, but for connected services, is huge. And so I have this video that I'm about to show to give you a sample of that part of the change agent called effective communication, where you're taking this big, complex set of things that you do, but you have to put it in an easy to understand set of language that the customer can understand, and then therefore can galvanize and help mobilize the organization to lead that change. So now if you can roll that clip.
Customers demand connected services that can be accessed from anywhere, be it a desktop computer, notebook, or a mobile device. As a result, we know that the majority of our future growth will come from offering customers software as a service with smart and relevant mobile access. 10.1 will allow us to provide a unified customer experience, new business model capabilities, improve data integrity, get to market faster, and make it easy to scale and maintain our systems. It's probably obvious that this will affect nearly everyone that works at Intuit. Work in marketing? You'll be able to better target your messages and get more accurate measurements of your marketing programs. In finance, you'll spend less time on product SKU and pricing setup and more time on gathering meaningful business insights. For instance, one business unit that's already moved to 10.1 cut over 12,000 SKUs, going from close to 13,000 to about 200 items, while still offering the same products to our customers. People who work in product development and product marketing will be able to focus on making the best possible products because with 10.1, flexible billing and support systems will already be in place. In sales, you'll get a 360-degree view of each and every customer, and you'll be able to prioritize your most important leads. The people who work in support will see everything a customer uses and their entire support history. We'll also reduce the number of applications IT needs to support from roughly 300 to around 100, so they'll be able to provide better internal support.
So, just a sampling, it's less about the content as it is an example of how you need to take something very complex and put it in a language that people can understand so that it's less intimidating for them. This is a big program that we're rolling out called 10.1. We've worked on it and have worked on it for 18 months. But we needed the help and the partnership and the collaboration from the functions that we enable and have to partner with. And so for them to understand what we needed to deliver is a key part of being that change agent. And so this is something that will be a huge foundation for us as we get to connected services. And so the communication has to be clear, concise, in a language that people can understand so that they know what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, and how does it impact them. That is a key component to being that change agent as well. So I talked a little bit about mindset and the role that you need to play to change that mindset. Now let me switch gears and talk about innovation and how IT is helping enable innovation for the company. The key thing for us is rapid time to market for us as a company, so we can solve important customer problems faster than anybody else in an easy to use way so people adopt us. That's what we want to do as a company. So what does that mean for IT? We have to enable rapid prototyping and innovation for our product development teams, the third me that I talked about in my customers, out of the 4 customers that I serve. So what I have to do to break down the barriers to innovation. Here, we used to have tight partnership with our product development teams where we had a dedicated IT engineering team that made sure that we can deploy environments in our development and QA environments for our product development teams. 2 years ago, it took us about 2 to 3 months to do that for every single environment. That's not rapid. That doesn't enable rapid prototyping for the product development teams to then test into the marketplace. So we've worked hard over the last year to not only streamline that time to market, but make sure it can be scalable in production. And this year, through a lot of great work and innovation within the IT shop, we were able to create a lot of self-serve. So what used to take 2 to 3 months, where they had a lot of interaction with IT, we've created the ability for a product development person to go to a tool that we call Pharos. They can log in. Within a limited set of menus, they can get their environments in 2 to 3 hours. huge, dramatic change that enabled innovation. I've streamlined the ability, my organization, from 2 to 3 months to 2 to 3 hours, which in turn enables us to manage both an internal cloud platform and the ability to have elastic metering, that's the next step that we're doing, with external clouds providers. And when I can streamline from 2 to 3 hours, can you imagine what the development teams can now do in rapid prototyping? And that's how I have helped, and my organization has helped enable innovation. And I'm going to give you some examples about that. This Pharos tool, you log in. We've taken a lot of the concepts from our product development teams too. I talked about us being a very customer-centric organization as a company. We've embedded that into our technology function as well. We've not only given the ability to go from 2 to 3 months to 2 to 3 hours, but we've embedded what we call a chat. So a PD person can come in there and chat to anyone anytime that they have a problem getting their own deployments. We've also embedded a feature what we call live community. So we have enabled the effective social networking between product development teams when they're facing a similar challenge. We've created the ability for them to connect to each other and provide help and support to each other. That's another way that we're innovating. And the ability to do the cloud and managed hosting enables us to get rapid time to market, productivity for not only the IT organization, but for the PD organization as well. And here's an example. It's not about the screenshot. It is a screenshot of an application that we call QuickBooks Online Trends. The customer problem we were solving was the ability for a QuickBooks Online customer to look at not only what they're spending on, but how does that compare to their peer groups, something that they didn't have before. This is hosted on our Pharos platform. We had a small group of engineers, enough that you can feed 2 pizzas with, because that's our measure. We don't want big engineering teams, because that doesn't foster innovation. So we size these teams enough, and only enough, that 2 pizza boxes can feed. That is then hosted on Pharos. They got their deployment environments in 2 to 3 hours, and they were able to put this beta out in a matter of weeks. And that's what we're testing. That's the rapid innovation, prototyping that we're trying to do. And that's our role in IT to play. But it's not just what we do for the internal side of the house. We're also enabling innovation outside our walls as well. Yet another application called the Intuit Partner Platform. It's an Intuit App Center, again, hosted on our Pharos platform. And it's connecting the ability for the end users who want more solutions and external developers who want to develop other kinds of solutions that we're not developing on our QuickBooks platform. And together, ourselves and the external developers, hosted by our platform that IT developed, is enabling bigger businesses and more successful businesses together and faster. We have over 90 applications on this Intuit App Store and over 150,000 active users on our Intuit Partner Platform. And again, another example of how IT's role to fostering innovation, helping our customer called product development deliver additional innovation to the end customers and to our developers. We talked a little bit about mindset, talked a little bit about innovation. Another area that the IT organization is helping transform the company and enabling is in the area of data. I believe we have one of the richest sets of data in the company. We know so much about you as an individual, what you've bought, what you spend, what you pay your employees, your healthcare. How do we take and how do we become phenomenal stewards of that data in a secure and a private manner, deliver better offerings for you? And that's something else that we're experimenting in IT in partnership with our businesses. We have a program called Data as an Asset. It serves both things for internal and employees, where we have to create business intelligence tools, which is very natural. We're taking it one step further of using data to build better products, better customer experiences inside that product for our customers. And we've got to shift from being a basic reporting provider to data-driven actions and insights. We started out by creating reports. You can go on to QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop and get a list of reports of what you spent, your vendors, the invoices, and so forth. Now what we're doing over the last 2 years is thinking about how to leverage that data so that I'm changing and improving the customer experience in the interactions that the customers are using our products on, because I don't have to have them enter their data, because I'm doing it for them. And I'll give you an example shortly. The next step to that is, how do I then personalize that for you? How do I predictively and proactively, through your user behavior, predict how you're going to use the app so I can improve that app for you? And then finally, give you, the customers, a whole bunch of insights so that you can then action on. And if we do this data continuum for you, think about the competitive advantage that we'll have and the phenomenal amount of usage and value that you get from the products within Intuit. That's our journey on the data spectrum. Here's an example. I used to be a general manager of QuickBooks prior to my role as a CIO. And we have about 1.3 million small businesses who use our QuickBooks payroll products. And on average, we issue about 10 W-2s per small business employer. That's 13 million W-2 forms that flow through our systems alone. Now imagine you're that employee who just got issued that W-2 form, and now you want to use TurboTax. My data team is taking that data out of QuickBooks Payroll, pre-populating it into TurboTax, so rather than you spending time data entering, we're going to do that for you. That's how we're changing the customer experience for the better. That's how we're helping you save time and save money and creating a better customer experience in the products, in this case through data exchange. And that's how we're creating delight, and that's how we're helping. The IT organization is helping our product development teams create delight to the end user. So can you imagine us pre-populating all this data so that all you have to do is just QA it versus data enter? Huge time savings, huge value add. And that was the second step in that staircase. Here's another example of how we're unlocking the value of data. Profitability is a analytics application that sits on top of QuickBooks Online. And basically, it helps you understand where you've spent it, where you've spent your money, why you've spent your money, how better to save money, and so therefore you can action. All that set of insights for you, the customer, to then be able to action on, again, to enable our mission that we have as a company to deliver better business and money outcomes to our customers, and in this case, saving or making money. This is, again, another example of innovation through the usage of data of how we're solving for the customer. So in closing, we've talked about 3 key areas of how we are fueling innovation and growth in the cloud. Mindset, being that change agent, making sure you solve for customer, making sure you have the lens of the customer, putting yourself in the shoes of the customer versus thinking systems out. Talks about what your role is in innovation and how you enable that innovation. Gave you some examples of our cloud, our Intuit hosting platform, and the enablement that we're able to do with product development to reduce time to market so that the product development teams can do rapid prototyping to the customers. That's all about SaaS. That's all about through the usage of the cloud. And then finally, we talked about data. That is a huge, big industry trend to get to big data now. And so how do we take those sets of data to climb up that ladder beyond the table stakes of reporting to how it is that I can help you never enter data, where I'm doing it for you to save you time, to help you understand how I am personalizing it for you so that you can get the insights that you need to better action the things that you want to do in service of saving money or making money. And that's how IT, in this case, and Intuit, is help fueling innovation and growth in the cloud. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm happy to take a few questions if there's some in the audience. Can't see. Okay. Is there a question there?
Yeah, great presentation. I'm curious, when you talked about trying to get the cross-functional groups to support the strategy, a lot of times I think a lot of us realize that there are metrics in place that drive them to do one thing versus embrace change. How did Intuit deal with that issue? Was it top-down on how the metrics started to change to measure people on different things than what they were measured on before in a functional stovepipe thinking?
Yeah. So what we've done and what I've created is an organizational structure where what I call is double solid line. So I have a leader in each of the business units that is double solid line to me and to that general manager. Sits on that person's staff, understands, helps shapes that strategy so that they then in turn can understand how IT's role is to enable that business strategy. Our org structure also, where I report into the CEO as well. So I am a peer to all those GMs, and with that GM mindset, I am also able to, I view CIO as a general manager role. My business just happens to be Intuit, and the customers just happen to be the business units. And so I've structured my organization such that I am intimately involved in helping understand and shape each of the business unit strategy and in turn the company strategy so that I can better deliver value. And when you do that, the metrics just come along with that. Does that answer your question? Great. Here.
How do you communicate to your end customers when you take a product and move it to the cloud? Did you hear anything I said?
A little bit, but I'm sure the audience could.
No, I feel like I should get up and sing or something. But how do you communicate to your end users the functionality that's in the new online version of a product that they may be existing? Like if they're using QuickBooks for general ledger and they want to move to the online, how do you communicate to them what is there and what isn't? And
Yeah, so great question. We communicate to them in multiple ways. Certainly through our e-commerce platform, which we also support in IT. It's a great way for customers to learn and shop, but most importantly, learn about the new features and the kinds of products that we have both on the desktop and online. In various business units, we also have what we call a service management function, whose sole job is to do the communications, to keep in line with the millions and millions of customers that we have to say what's new, what's different, how this is going to better add value to you in service to helping you save or make money. So we have those kinds of things and it's hard. We've got 50 million customers that we help provide services for, but it is incredibly important that we do that. The other thing that we do, which is very much embedded in our culture, we have our customer-driven culture, is we do follow me homes. We do over 10,000 hours a year of follow me homes to understand the customer's behavior and their usage of our products to then enhance our products. And then we do all the communications, whether it's online on the e-commerce platform or through these service management groups. And that's how we stay connected to our customers in delivering value. Any other questions out there? Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here.